Okay, welcome to the first lecture where we are looking at operations management, introduction to operations management. Now, going into in-depth of the study, we are saying that operations is that part of an organization which is concerned with the transformation of a range of inputs into the required output. Here, what we're talking about the ability of one to be able to change the quality of input into output. Now, it should be noted that it is dependent on the quality of input that you add in that will lead to the output. Now, as a project manager or as an operations manager, your duty is to ensure that these activities are conducted to give you the best output or the best service from the efforts that are put in place. Management is a process which combines and transforms various resources used in the operations subsystem of an organization into value added services. Now, here you can look at the definition, but the point here is that management is about managing now. How then do you manage the process? Excuse me. How then do you manage the process of transforming the raw materials into the output, which is the goods or services? Now, the set of integrated management activities which are involved in manufacturing certain products is called as per production management. Now, you know, production management. Now, here we're looking at the difference now between operations management and production management. Now, here we're talking about the set of integrated activities which are involved in manufacturing certain products. Now, certain products need certain products need your inputs, and now those inputs are done. It needs not really inputs, but it needs activities. Okay, now activities which go towards manufacturing a certain product. Okay, that is what we call production management. Now, operations management, generally we're talking about is a part of an organization which is concerned with the transformation of a range of inputs into operations management is a broader concept, whereas production management is part of operations management. Okay, such that production management, you are managing a certain field, a certain area, okay, a certain smaller unit. Now, if the same concept is extended to a service management, then the corresponding set of management activities is called operations what management. Now, during this process is what we call process design. Now, we are saying process design is this design of a process for a desired physical or chemical transformation of a material. Now, here, what you are looking at now is that you see when you engage into that process of having, the product, you need to define what the process is from the beginning to the end. You say from this step, at this step, I'll put my raw materials in this format. Okay, once I soak them in water, then I'll take them into, I'll take at another level, I'll dry them. Okay, after drying, I'll take them into the heater and things like that. Now there you're looking at the chemical reaction, the physical and chemical transformation of your product. Now, process design is central to chemical engineering, and it can be considered to be the summit of that field, bring together all the fields and the components. Now, here in short, we're saying that the core of this slide is that you see it will give you the ability for you to be able to transform the product, okay, system through a set system that requires you to be able to have well-defined steps. Now, after that we are looking at what we call process plan. Now, that process design needs a plan. Okay, now that plan, we are saying that in companies, planning processes can result in increased output. Of course, planning is very, very vital to an organization's what to an organization's efforts. Okay, so we are saying planning results in increased what output, high precision and faster turnaround for vital business tasks. Now, planning makes things done. Okay, planning makes things done, and every business needs to do planning. Now, before you engage in production management or management, you need to to plan your process design. Okay, now process is described as a set of steps that result in a specific outcome. It converts inputs into outputs. Okay, now process planning is also called manufacturing planning. Okay, now here we're just talking about how certain things are going to be processed and at what and who is going to be involved and the various parts that are going to be put together for that product to come on board. Okay, so process planning. Okay, we've already indicated. It is a complete description of a specific stage in the production process. Okay, planning determines how the product will be produced and services will be provided. Okay, so here it is just one and the same thing that we've been talking about. Okay, now every plan needs to have a framework. Every plan needs to have a framework. Now, as we can see there's process planning. Then process planning, there is in the middle there's plan. Okay, now this plan leads to a design. There's a design connected to it. Okay, there are machines and tools connected to it. Okay, there are schedules and production control units that are involved. Now, here what we're talking about is, for instance, if you want to build a car, if you want to build a car, that car that you are building needs, that car that you are building needs a certain, a certain design. So you have that specific design. Now, for you to ensure that that design, which is on maybe on graphic design or other, soft copies or any other, a resource is put into reality, you are going to do what we call process design. Now, this is a framework. Okay, so there you've got a process plan. Okay, this is where you look at all different components and how they're going to be put together and things that are going to be involved and other things. Okay, so objective of the process planning. Now, every intervention needs to have an objective. Okay, every intervention needs to have the objective. And the objective of process planning, we're saying the chief of process planning is to augment and modernize the business methods of the company. Okay, now the process plan is planned to renovate design specification into manufacturing instructions and to make products within the functions and quality specification at the least possible cost. Now, here we're looking at having a product at the least possible cost. Now, you should need to know that in economic thought, you know, low cost is good for what? For income or for revenue, meaning that you're going to raise more money if you're able to have a low production cost. Okay, so this will result in reduced cost due to fewer staff required to complete the same process, higher competence by eradicating process steps such as loops and bottlenecks, greater precision by including checkpoints and success measures to make sure process and steps are completed precisely. Okay, better understanding by all employees to fulfill their department objectives. Now, here we are just indicating that process planning needs to have objectives. You as you you know as you want as you plan to have your own as you plan to have your own process, or as you want to have your own product, you need to plan it. Once you plan it, you need to have objectives. Okay, objectives. Now, one of the objectives is to ensure that you have you produce a product at a low cost. Two, you need to ensure that there are processes that are modernized. You don't use an ancient system. Okay. Thirdly, you need to ensure that all those bottlenecks are eradicated. Okay, to ensure that there is the proper flow of information from one department to the other. Now, process planning also deals with what? Selection of process and determination of conditions of the process. Now, this is one of the objectives. Okay, the particular operations and conditions have to be realized in order to change raw materials into specified shapes. Okay, so now you can go ahead and review the notes and be able to what to deal with all those things that are needed in terms of objectives. Here, the overall feedback is that one needs to be able to have objectives. Now, effect of process planning on competition and advantage. Okay, now we're saying the effect of planning. Now, effect of process planning is visible. Okay, you will be able to see as an expert in operations management, you'll be able to see that this project was properly planned or this project was not even planned at all. Now, one of the benefits, okay, uh, one of the benefit of one of the competitive advantage is that one process plan as the framework it is there, it will what it will lead to what time to market. It will give you some time to market because as you plan, you put it there to say, as I produce this product, this is a period where the plan, I mean the market is okay. During this time the product would have been ready and this is the time that will be marketing the product. Then it will also lead you to the prices. It will give you a specific prices, looking at a competitive prices, looking at what other, what other organizations or what other goods and services are producing. Okay, then further production costs. Okay, it will lead you to look at, see what the production cost is. Okay, and what prices is. Now if you look at the diagram, the production cost lead to prices because production cost is very very vital. It's very eminent in coming up with your prices. Prices are determined from the costs. Okay, the production cost. So you can't set your, your cost of a product at a lesser cost than the cost you incurred whilst you are producing. Okay, so price should be higher than the production cost. Okay, now when you look at all this model, it will lead you into what having a competitive advantage over your what your predecessors or over your competitors. Okay, now that's the importance of the framework. Now, principles of process planning. Principles of process planning. What are the principles of process planning? Now, we are saying general principles for evaluating or enhancing process are as follows. One, first define the output and then look towards the inputs needed to achieve those outputs. Now, first of all, the principle is first of all, you need to have a proper definition of your inputs to have an overall outlook of the input. Okay. Secondly, describe the goal of the process and assess them frequently to make sure they're still appropriate. This will include specific measures, okay, like quality score and turnaround times. Okay, now I want you to be able to learn these things and come around, examples that you can get around your what? Around your area of interest or maybe where you are based. How are these concepts applicable in the projects that you've done or that you've been involved? When mapped, the process should appear as a logical flow, okay, without loops back to earlier steps or departments. Now, it should be a logical flow. You can't have a, you can't have a pricing at the early stages of a production, or you can't have pricing. You can't even have a price of a product before you even manufacture it. Okay, before you even develop it, first of all you need to know that there is design of a product. You design how a product will look. After you design a product how it will look, then you go into what operation. Now a production management, you try to bring it into reality. Once it is brought, now you look at how much you spent on the product and you price it. Okay. After pricing it, you start marketing. After marketing, now you go on the ground and start selling. Okay, when we are saying that any steps executed needs to be included in the documentation. Now, documentation is one of the very important concepts. Any process that is, done, no matter how small it is, it has to be documented. Any cost that is incurred has to be documented. If not, it should be eliminated or documented. Now, if that process is not documented, then it should not be indicated on the process. It should not even be handled or tackled. meaning that every process needs to be documented. Now, this is depending on whether or not it's necessary to the process or not. Now, we are dealing with what is necessary to the process and what is not. If it is necessary, document it. If it is not necessary, don't document it. Okay. People involved in the process should be consulted as they often have the most current information. Now, you need to involve people that are current, people that are experts. All expertise involve them, okay, and be able to include them. Okay, process planning includes activities and functions to develop comprehensive plan and instructions to produce a part. Now, the planning starts with engineering drawings, as I said, okay, specifications, parts, materials, and forecast of demand. I'm sure by now you'll understand how this is standing in our topic today. Now, the result of the planning are routine, which routings which specify operation sequences, work center standards, and other things. Okay, operations for production activities control specific purposes and define required resources for capacity required planning purpose. Okay, now all those things are one of the principles. You need to have all these principles followed. Now, as you are studying, as you are studying, ensure that you follow all these things because they'll be very, very important for your examination. In me, as I'll be examining you, I'll be able to look at all these critical things and be able to twist them to just to ensure that I test your understanding via these same things. Now, as these things are being done, ensure that you study your notes properly and you have my number. Okay, be able to consult me where you need help. Okay, because as I'll be doing my test, I'll be looking at what I gave you. I'll be looking at the notes. Okay, so I'm sure you have the notes. I'm sure you have the notes. Okay, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful class. I will see you next in the next class. Thank you.